Kit Guru is with Be Quiet, a Computex 2026. Ironically, they are called Be Quiet, but it's quite noisy in this room. And we have their headline power supply, the Dark Rock Pro 14 IO. Available in either 1300 watt or 1600 watt versions. The pricing is the thick end of 500 euros or dollars. And the IO part is significant because it means it has software control. So let's just have a quick look at the cable connection points. We have the full gamut, including support for 2 graphics cards with 12-volt high power connections. But when we go to the screen, and you can see PSU power. So what we're looking at here is their RGB configuration software, but it also is used for configuring the power supply and seeing what it is doing. One thing worth noting as Rosie moves along the line of power supplies is that we don't have any cables on these modular power supplies. There are some on the System Power 11 at the end, but those are integrated. But returning to the big boy, the Dark Power Pro 14 IO, there are no cables. We asked about any protection for 12-volt high power connections getting a bit hot and toasty and potentially damaging your graphics card. Apparently Be Quiet has never had a problem and they have no particular technology to handle this issue. Dark Rock 6 we are familiar with. Dark Rock Pro 6 we are also familiar with. Coming very soon, Dark Rock Pro 6 IO LCD. Guess what the difference is? That's right, it's the LCD on the top and it's controlled by IO software. Apparently that screen's going to add around $60 to the price, which seems rather steep to me. I hope that Be Quiet adjusts the price somewhat more competitively, but that cooler certainly looks the part. Also, the IO software is being used to control the cooler fully. There are no control buttons on this cooler. So the Dark Rock Pro 6 is the analog old school cooler, and the Dark Rock Pro 6 IO LCD is the new shiny, all singing, all dancing. Be Quiet has chainable fans, Lightwing's Pro IO 120. So the Lightwing Pro IO 120 has a single connection point. These are for the end of the chain, most likely at the back of your case. And then we have the 360. You'll notice they're in a unibody and they have 2 connections. You can chain them together. We haven't seen the controller for these. We're quite familiar with the approach used by Corsair. We know there's a power limitation based on the number of LEDs and the number of fans. We're quite sure the same is going to be true of Lightwing's Pro IO 360. In other words, there'll be a certain number of LEDs that they can control. But these look new and interesting, and I'm certainly looking forward to having them on review. We're looking at the Light-based 900FX, a case with which you are familiar. The cooler is new. This is the Loop IO LCD 360 in white, and it's all about the LCD that's on the pump body. Also, the power supply around the back is the Dark Power Pro 14 IO. Again, it's the IO, it's the software configuration for the power supply and also for the animation on the LCD. And here are the Loop IO LCD coolers in glorious isolation. The 240 priced at 205 or 210, depending on whether it's black or white. And the 360 is 230 or 235, depending on black or white. So again, the cooler is familiar. It's all about the LCD, which has been added to this cooler. And we can see as we swing around to the white, Pure Loop and Pure Loop 3LX. These are more familiar products. And then we're around to the right, the Silent Loop 3420. So it's safe to say that Be Quiet has had RGB now for some years. But if we spring back to those LCDs, the LCDs and the control of the LCD, that is the new part. Pure Base 803 and black or white, these are prototypes. It turns out that the numbering system 803, the 80 means 80 litres in volume. The 50 series are 50 litres in volume. The 90 or 900 series are 90 litres in volume. I did not know that. So these Pure Base 803s are large cases. They're intended almost for workstation duties. So we look inside the black case and we can see we've got fans at the rear, fans in the floor, but the side position is all about storage. But we swing to the white case and we can see fans galore, loads of 140s. 3 in the side, 3 in the floor, 2 at the rear. But of course it's got 2 glass panels. So while the white version has glass on 2 sides, the black version has glass on the main panel, but the front is mesh, and you can accommodate 3 140s there as well. So you've got the option of a huge amount of cooling and a large amount of storage, or a huge amount of cooling and even more storage. Also, if we come around to the white case, you'll notice the power supply has been tucked away in the bulge above the motherboard tray, and this means the airflow path from the floor up through the graphics card and then up and out through the AIO cooler and the roof is uninterrupted. You'll note here the front I/O is down the bottom, but if you choose, you can remove that plate, a couple of screws, and then we go to the top, remove that plate, and you can install the front I/O in the roof of the case. So if your case is on the floor, you'll want the front I/O there. And if it's on your desk, you'll want it there. That is actually fairly simple. It's just easier with 2 hands than 1. And here we have the I/O Center software, which we're familiar with from simple mice and keyboards, but it's been extended to control the RGB in all these fans. We're told they have some very neat extra features coming, so you'll be able to color match the RGB in your various fans. They were thinking of doing this with non-Be Quiet fans, but that became too complicated. But they assure us that you'll be able to take all of your Be Quiet RGB fans and, for example, make the orange exactly equal in every fan, and it can also match your keyboard. An update to the light mount keyboard. This is a 10 keyless version. Beyond that, there's not much to say, except you may not have noticed, if you pull back Rosie, it's sitting on a huge mouse pad called the XL, because it's extra large. The mouse pad's going to cost you about 35 euros or dollars. The keyboard about 140. This is Kit Guru signing off with Be Quiet at Computex 2026 in front of their new Dark Power Pro 14 I/O power supply. Do please check us out at kitguru.net, and don't forget we're on TikTok.